Good morning and welcome to the Adult Education and Workforce Development Statewide webinar for August 14th. I am Jerry Hafner. With me this morning is the Adult Education team. Marilyn will be joining us a little bit later. Let's begin this morning with a very touching story from Northwest Indiana. Before coming to the Hobart Adult Education Center, Jayanna, as you can see in the picture there, along with her young child, was holding down a minimum wage job as she provided for her children. A single mother to a toddler with a baby on the way, she was feeling stuck. Before adult education, I held a heavy weight on my shoulders, she said. I knew minimum wage is not what I wanted for the rest of my life. I needed greater options. In order to have greater options, she would need to finish her education. She registered for classes, as I said, at the Hobart Adult Learning Center, where she could prepare for the HSC. Jayanna hoped earning her high school equivalency would open new doors for her to begin a career in teaching. My children became my biggest motivation, and self-completion would have to be another top motivator for me. My goal for winter 2018 was to obtain my HSC. The Hobart Adult Learning Center was there for me to make it happen. In 2 short months, Jayanna completed every packet given to her, and she studied online at the library when the center wasn't open. In addition to working on her HSC, she finished her Parapro certification a few weeks before the holidays and completed her HSE earlier this year. Jayanna is now working full-time to continue providing for her children as she continues her path toward her teaching career. Her teacher, Lynn, said, Jayanna and her little family have a much better chance today. She has a job, and she is working with a Work One youth facilitator to apply for paraprofessional positions. Jayanna hopes to eventually go to school and become a teacher. I have no doubts that she can do it. Congratulations, Jayanna. Let's move on to another story. After moving to the United States from Mexico, Mayrana Lopez had a vision to begin a new chapter in her life. I came to a different country with a different language than I spoke. I had to learn a completely different language, but I knew it was not impossible for me. She began her new chapter by enrolling in ELL classes through the Hammond Adult Education Program. Once her English skills improved, she was encouraged by her spouse, her husband, to pursue an education. My husband motivated me to be a better person and pursue my education, she said. 1 month after attending HSE preparation classes, just 1 month, she was ready to take the test, and she passed. She plans to continue her education by going to college and then eventually getting a job. Her teacher, Jill, there at the Hammond Adult Education Center, said, the fact that she has been in this country for such a short time makes her success even more inspirational. Let's move to Central Indiana. Trey Fields. He enrolled in adult education for his second time earlier this year. The 34-year-old auto mechanic describes himself as smart, successful, and caring. I like to spend time with my family. A house full of women, he said. My family is great. When in high school, I always got in trouble, a lot of trouble. I didn't have a family for support, so I didn't stay in school. After fixing cars and trucks for 14 years, Trey was offered a job at Indigo. This is Indianapolis's public transportation system. Obtaining his HSC presented challenges for Trey. It had been over 16 years since he was in high school, and he was working full-time, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., and not available to attend evening adult education classes. Thankfully, work was flexible with me coming in to get ready for the exam, he said. With help in math, and after taking the math exam twice, he passed. This means a lot to me and to my family, he said. Getting a job with Indigo means good money, good benefits, good retirement, working for the city and state, and possibly an opportunity for a promotion to management. Then I won't have to physically work as hard as I currently am, he said. And I've shared this quote a couple times last week, and I think it says a lot about Trey and about what you've been able to do, Trey, at the Newcastle Adult Education Program. I'll be able to live a comfortable life for once. I will be able to live a comfortable life for once. And that's what we do. That's what we all do in helping our students succeed. Now turning to some sad news, and with sort of a heavy heart, I'd like to announce the passing of Barb Browning. She was an adult education teacher within Monroe County Community Schools who died on July 10th. She was IAACE's New Adult Educator of the Year in 2018. Initially, she taught in the alternative high school for Monroe County Schools, and she became an adult educator in 2015. Before her passing, she just completed her third year teaching the My Cook Pathway HSE classes for employees of Cook Medical in Bloomington. Browning earned a BS in education from IU-PU Fort Wayne, and she had 2 master's degrees from Indiana University in public affairs and environmental science. Very sad news. We have a couple guests on the line this morning. The first is Connie from River Valley Resources. River Valley Resources has recently received a lot of media attention about a program in southern Indiana helping offenders receive HSCs and welding certifications. Connie is with us this morning on our statewide webinar to tell us more. Good morning, Connie.
Good morning, Jerry. Good morning, everyone. Okay, so a little backstory of how this happened. Last year, in my Region 9, I had been hounding the Ivy Tech in Madison for a welding class that I could present for my students. And after hounding, stalking, and pressuring them, they actually put one on the schedule. Unfortunately, Region 9 ran out of Work Indiana funds to pay, but I didn't want to let them down, so I thought, I have Region 10 Work Indiana funds, and Scott County is in Region 10. So I got this crazy idea to take offenders from the Scott County Jail and bring them to Madison. Didn't know if it was going to work, but I called the jail. They were excited. They talked to the sheriff. The sheriff was on board. He talked to the county judge and the prosecutor got together, decided we could do it. So for 9 weeks, the Scott County Jail transported offenders to Ivy Tech Madison, where they did a welding class. We were all excited about that. Every single one of them that attended the class passed. So we decided to throw a little graduation. When we got to the Scott County Jail on July 31st, it was absolutely packed with media from the Louisville market. And so we were very proud, very thrilled that not only did we have 11 certified welders, but we also had 10 inmates who had earned their high school equivalency, and 3 of those men in the class had earned both the welding certification and the high school equivalency. So we're all proud of that. We're all excited, and Scott County We're in talks to do more, but since that news media, we've had a barrage of calls from people wanting to know how do they get their county jails to do the same thing. And it's been wonderful, and hopefully we'll get to spread it to other communities. And if any adult education director out there is interested in exactly how we did it, you can contact me, and I will be absolutely happy to walk you through the whole process. So that's about it.
Well, thank you very much, Connie. It was exciting because we know that Scott County is such a county of great need, particularly with the residents without a high school diploma. So thank you for everything that you have done for those offenders, for the Scott County Sheriff's Department, and for Scott County in general. So again, thank you, Connie. Let's move on to Area 30 Career Center. We have Laura on the phone with us, and she's made some very solid connections with businesses. Laura is on the line to tell us more about programs at International Automotive Components and some other companies that you may know about. So, Laura, good morning.
Thank you, Jerry. Yes, good morning, everyone, and thank you for asking me to speak today about a few of those workforce education initiatives that we've developed here in Greencastle with some of our local employers. Our adult education program has one location. We're in a small town and located about an hour west of Indianapolis. We work with about 130 students per year and have HSE classes and a small ESL class program. I'm going to walk you through four of our current WEIs, and as Jerry said, the first one is the International Automotive Components company that's located about a quarter of a mile from our Area 30 Career Center. The folks at IAC had been posting a lot of newspaper ads specifically for assembly workers, and we'd seen that happening over a number of weeks. Initially, I called and talked to the hiring manager there about the posted openings that they have and how could we access that information and put their jobs on our jobs board in our classroom. I suggested that she share a little bit with me about the company and their needs and told her that I'd be happy to encourage our adult students to apply for positions with their company. I asked her what the typical applicant was and what was making it hard for her to fill the position she had. She said that many of the applicants were not eligible for employment because they didn't have a high school diploma. That quick conversation really led to a lot of the specific bullet points that are noted there on the slides. The individual applies for a job and doesn't have a high school diploma. We created a small business card sized explanation of what they could do to contact Area 30 Adult Ed and enroll in classes. Their front desk personnel will hand out those cards if somebody does apply for the job and doesn't have a diploma. We also found that due to the company seeing some changes later in their development, they had a few of their employees already working for the company that had been grandfathered in and were able to work there before there was a need for the high school diploma. Some of those folks were even on third shift. So at one point a year ago, we were doing 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. classes for the individuals coming off the 7 a.m. shift. And so we've had to learn to kind of adjust our programs, hours and activities to really match the needs of those employers. And the response to that has been amazing. Not only did those students go ahead and complete and get their high school equivalency diploma, but they were big advocates of our program, asking others that they knew to check into us or come in and talk to us. So over the last year or so, that's been a big increase in some of the numbers that we see enrollment-wise. The next slide, if you want to go to that, Jerry. So I'm not going to read all of it to you. You can see there that, basically once they receive their diploma, they are able to be hired on to the union. That was another unique feature about this particular company. As a union shop, they had to go present our proposal to the union and get approval so that they could then hire these individuals on a temporary basis and let them work with us to achieve their high school equivalency diploma while they were working as a temp for IAC. And then once they passed their high school equivalency test, they were going to be able to be hired on as full-time employees. The neat thing was they also at the end came back and decided to add into the program that they would also pay for the cost of the testing. They did have the individual employee pay that up front, and they had a ceremony at their location to support those folks when they passed and give them a reimbursement of those test fees. So that's been a nice program that we've enjoyed working with. One of our other ones, if you can go to the next slide, please. The next partnership is with Crown. Crown is a local company in Greencastle that manufactures custom forklift trucks. They were consistently posting ads for welders and were already working closely with our high school career and tech ed welding program, hoping to attract graduates going right into employment after high school. Again, the conversations were had with the Crown hiring managers, and we were able to structure our WEI partnership kind of into two different tracks. The first track, Crown wanted to help skill up their employees that they already had working in the assembly positions. They chose to advertise our classes on their company letterhead. I would send them the flyers. They would customize it with their letterhead and post these actual posters in their employee break rooms. And the HR managers also requested that specific employees come in and talk to them about the opportunity to take these courses and move into higher paying positions. On some occasions, they were even able to adjust the work shift and able to allow the individual to take the course. We have one gentleman in a CNC course that was working on second shift, and they allowed him to switch to the day shift so that he could take the night classes. Over the last 5 years, we really have worked with them to provide these types of courses, and our workforce certification classes have trained over 90 welders. And in the last 12 months since we started the CM machine operation course, we've had 11 individuals complete that training. And the majority of them are looking at companies like Crown to do those types of skilled positions. If you look at the bullet points, it says next level jobs, WRG and ETG funding will be utilized when possible. That's new this year. In the past, all of those other certifications were done through the Work Indiana program. So we're looking forward to hoping for the same type of response with the next level jobs initiative to be able to continue those types of results for our community. If you'd like to go to the next slide, the bullet points talk about the second track there and how they help us by increasing enrollment. A lot of the jobs at Crown are looking for skilled workforce, and so they have people coming in often that have the workforce skills, but they may not have the high school diploma, which is a requirement by their corporation. And so they, again, use those small business card identifiers to let individuals know how to contact us and what we can do for them. And then they offer to guarantee an interview if they will go through the process in our program. We can fast track their application as soon as they pass that test. And so we've had several people go through that process as well in previous years. Excuse me. So as we go on to the next slide, Walmart Distribution is another company that we have begun to work with in the past year. They are also a two-part initiative. Initially, we were talking to their managers and focused on the concept that they don't require a high school diploma in order to work at the Walmart Distribution Hub, but they do recommend it and have nationwide options online and some programs that the corporation has used to encourage employees to get that high school equivalency or go back to school. we initially were talking about the fact that we did those things in our adult education program, and our local Walmart managers felt it was much more effective for students to come and have one-on-one attention working with an instructor. So they began sending us a few people that were interested in that sense. But the bigger push for a workforce education initiative with Walmart came when they announced that they had, again, nationwide, determined that the Certified Logistics Associate certification through MSSC, that particular certification was very valuable in their logistics company. And so they nationwide have offered to guarantee interviews to anyone that applies for a job in logistics with that certification. And so that prompted us to look to our local Ivy Tech and request that they offer that particular course here in Greencastle. It took a little time to make that happen, but as we got that class started, that has been a very effective program for our students. They enroll. These are students normally that we identify in our classroom and share the information about Walmart distribution and the jobs there. They can start with the Walmart distribution entry-level job in logistics at $16.10 per hour. They're full-time positions, and our local company has over 40 of those openings currently due to growth and expansion in their industry. So very good opportunity. We put that class in place and are now working directly with the Walmart distribution to provide a tour, guaranteed interview, and just that support of helping them through the process for individual students in our classroom. We currently have had 9 students complete that course, and the last 2 are interviewing later today. So we're hopeful that those will turn into valuable employees for Walmart distribution. Next slide, please. And the last one here I'm going to cover pretty quickly is McDonald's. And I'd encourage you to think of this in the broader sense. Any fast food restaurant may be open to these types of partnerships, but for us, the local contact with McDonald's was a franchise owner who actually contacted me to discuss really some of the things that his McDonald's Corporation was promoting internally. He sent me a newsletter, and it talked about all of the opportunities that McDonald's Corporation was offering their employees, and you can see some of the details there. The McDonald's Corporation has a yearly tuition assistance of $2,500 per crew member or $3,000 per manager for any employee who has a high school diploma or equivalent with at least 90 days of service at McDonald's and who maintains an average of only 15 hours per week. Kind of a too good to be true kind of a thing was what he initially had contacted me about. The other side of that is they were offering high school equivalency classes with a workforce component that sounded kind of like the things that we were doing with Work Indiana and adult education. So through that conversation, he again identified the fact that having a student come into a classroom and have an individual contact and relationship in the local community was going to be a lot more efficient for those that didn't have a high school diploma. And certainly for the college portion, I found a lot of good information out about the opportunities there, and we're actively promoting what McDonald's offers to a part-time student to help them transition into college for students that have low income or the inability to pay for the full amount of college costs. If you could go to the last slide there. And secondarily, then in terms of McDonald's, for our 16 to 18-year-old students, a lot of times there aren't a lot of career opportunities available to them until they at least reach the age of 18. So we were excited to kind of flesh out this particular part of our partnership with McDonald's, the local franchise locations, because a lot of times our students will go get a job and all of a sudden they're juggling a job and school, and they're no longer able to make both of those things happen simultaneously. So for us to have a direct link to the manager at each of those individual franchise locations, we can email back and forth. If the student is not showing up to work, they let us know. If they're not showing up to class, I let them know. And we can kind of coordinate the efforts. We've scheduled our students to come all to morning classes if they work afternoons and evenings, and vice versa. If we need to do an evening class, they'd work the night shift, that kind of a thing. So it's been just now getting started, so we don't have a lot of results on this one yet, but I've encouraged a lot of our students to look at McDonald's because of their focus on education, and obviously that's something that's very important to us. In wrapping up, I guess I'd just say that, feel free to use any of our current partnerships as examples as you work with employers to develop your own. Directors and coordinators out there, I encourage you to just make a phone call today and let a local hiring manager know what adult education programs are all about. Kind of an opening line I use a lot of times in making those phone calls is just to share with them that adult education programs across the state are contacting local employers to see how we can be of assistance in locating and training workers to be valued employees of XYZ company. I think you'll be surprised at the response you get from those HR departments or front desk people that will actually transfer you back to a manager because they are desperate to find good quality workers who will show up and do a good job. So hope that helps somebody. My contact information's on the screen. If anybody has questions, I'd be happy to talk with you, but just make some phone calls and see what results you can get. I think you'll be surprised. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you so much, Laura. Great information with 4 companies, great projects, and all about helping the students finish their education, or either in some cases start their education, finish their education, and become quality employees, as you said. So again, thank you very much. Great information about 4 companies that you're working with in the in the Greencastle area. Well, let's move on to some data and some information that I want to provide for you this morning, as we do on all of our statewide webinars. Here is Table 4 for program year 2018-2019. When I ran Table 4, which I did last Thursday for 2018-2019, the statewide measurable skill gain was 66.45%. This morning, early, when I ran the table again, our measurable skill gain on Table 4 was at 66.55%. 66.55%. Allow me to show you the table for 2019-2020. This is the first time that you're seeing some initial data. Obviously, it's very early in the program year, but when I ran Table 4 yesterday, the statewide measurable skill gain for 2019-2020 for the program year that began on July 1st, it was 17.43%. So far this year, there are nearly 5,000 enrollments that you're reporting with 180 HSCs. So let's move back to program year 2018-2019. We're very close to finalizing the numbers for this program year. As we have mentioned during several recent statewide webinars, enrollment was down by approximately 1,600 students from the previous year, which was 2017-2018. This was actually a 6% decrease from a year ago, and as you can see on your screen, ELL enrollment, though, was down by only 10 students from a year ago, only 10 students. Our measurable skill gains as a state, 2018-2019, increased by nearly 3 percentage points, 3 percentage points. Our goal for the state was 64% for the year, and we have easily exceeded that goal. And I might say, as a state, and as I said on the last statewide webinar, we have never been this high. So congratulations. As I've told some groups and some meetings that we've had over the last week or two, this obviously isn't the final number, but Indiana will certainly be a contender for the #1 spot nationally for measurable skill gains. So again, congratulations for all your hard work. ELL measurable skill gains for 2018-2019 are up by 3.3 percentage points from a year ago. The ABE MSGs are also up by about 2.5 percentage points, again from a year ago. The ELL gains saw the biggest jump, and we commend all of our ELL teachers and all the programs for their hard work in bringing the ELL measurable skill gains up. Nancy is here this morning, and she'll go over some other areas related to performance. Nancy?
Thank you, Jerry, and good morning, everyone. While AB enrollment was down, average contact hours for program year 2018-2019 was 79 hours, so virtually no change from the previous program year. The number separated before gain was actually down by 7.5 percentage points from a year ago, which was good news. In program year 2017-18, 8,537 students separated. In program year 2018-2019, currently we are at 6,147 students who've separated. It will be interesting to see if these numbers and percentages hold up while we finally close out the program year and make our report to the U.S. Department of Education. This slide breaks down the number separated before gain by program. ELL was at 30.5 percentage points on their separation rate. The number of HSE diplomas, including walk-ins for program year 2018-19, was 5,372 students. On the right was the percentage of test takers passing all 5 subjects. The pass rate actually increased 2 percentage points from 2017-2018. Perhaps the more rigorous TABE 11-12 in part contributed to this increase in pass rates. On the right was the percentage of test takers passing each subtest. Not surprising, math continues to be the subject with the lowest passing score. There were more than 330 honors diplomas issued for program year 2018-2019. 6% of the examinees earned an honors diploma. We began issuing honors diplomas on July 1st, 2018 for the first time. As a reminder, here are the required scores for an honors diploma. Students must get at least a 580 on the language arts reading subtest, at least a 560 on the mathematics subtest, and at least a 560 on the language arts writing subtest, including at least a 6 out of 8 score on the writing essay. The majority of ABE students in program year 2018-2019 were enrolled in level 3. The next highest number was level 2. Only 784 students, or 4%, were enrolled in ABE levels 5 through 6 as of last Thursday. Nearly 1/4 of the students entered adult education in ABE levels 5 and 6 in 2017-2018. As indicated in previous statewide webinars, the majority of HSEs were earned by students initially enrolled in levels 3 and 4. In the new program year, continue to remind your instructional staff that students may be ready at lower educational functioning levels to sit for the HSE. It is always a good idea, regardless of level, to administer the task readiness assessment to see if a student is ready. For students who utilize distance education, measurable skill gains rose in 2018-2019. The state's measurable skill gain for distance education was nearly 72% as of Monday. However, only 1/4 of the students used distance education to help them move more quickly academically. Of the nearly 2,500 students enrolled in 2018-2019, nearly 9,800, or 37%, initially entered programs as unemployed. 40% of the students indicated they were employed when they entered. The majority of students not in the labor force were in correctional programs. More than 1/3 of our students entered with a diploma during program year 2018-2019. In program year 2017-18, 29% of the students possessed a high school credential or higher. 13% attended college or earned a degree. Meanwhile, nearly 4 in 10 Hoosiers in 2018-2019 initially reported themselves as low income. 3% of the enrollments were learners who were long-term unemployed, which is defined as being unemployed greater than 26 weeks. 17% were ex-offenders. 12% of our students were single parents, and 11% were reported as individuals with disabilities. Here's the year in review. Some talking points for you to take forward. Statewide, more than 30,000 students were served. Some of the 5,472 students may be included in the number of HSEs obtained but not enrolled in adult education. The median earnings for students second quarter after exit increased by $672 a quarter over the last year, which is nearly a $2,700 annual increase. Under HSEs, please realize we have more data coming from TASC. The last download will be after Labor Day. 77% of the eligible ABE students in NRS levels 3 through 6 obtained their HSE. There was a 3% increase in measurable skill gains over the last program year. More than 2,700 post-secondary credentials were issued in 2018-2019, and nearly 4,150 students were enrolled in an IEP and WEI class. These outcomes are pretty amazing considering the majority of staff, that is 76%, are part-time. The cost per enrollment is under $1,000 and the cost per gain or HSE is under $1,500. Great numbers and great stories to tell about the year in review. Back to Jerry.
Thank you very much, Nancy. A lot of information there. We will get all these slides posted on our website so that you can look at the data and the information and tailor it to your local program and allow you to compare the state data with your local program. Let's move on. As a reminder, Indiana HSE candidates must complete the full battery of HSE tests within 60 calendar days from the start of the first subtest. It is not necessary for candidates to pass all subtests during this time frame. If the full battery of HSE tests remains incomplete on the 61st day, unfortunately, test scores for completed subtests will be invalidated. Candidates whose scores are invalidated must retake the invalidated test using a different test form. They will then have 60 calendar days to complete the full HSE test battery. As I said at the start of the call, Maryland is here and she is going to go over some slides in relation to employer reimbursement grant as well as a mid-year incentive. Maryland?
Good morning, colleagues. Before we dive into these slides, I just want to take a moment and share my very heartfelt appreciation to all of you in the field as well as all of the staff here at DWD for your work this year. I think the data that was just reviewed makes it pretty clear what an outstanding adult education program the state of Indiana has. And just indulge me for just a moment and give yourself a pat on the back or a hand of applause. And with that, we'll kick off the slides. Adult Education Employer Reimbursement Grant. So many of you have asked me what is happening with the $1 million that was left to us in Work Indiana funding. I want to be clear, this is not Work Indiana, but this is how we are using the Work Indiana funding. We're going to go over some preliminary information. Know that the opportunity to apply for these funds will be coming out shortly. So we will make available through adult education funding for partnerships between educational entities serving adults and employers to help minimize the cost incurred to help those employees earn their high school equivalency, or to help employees for whom English is not their native language, ELL students, acquire English language skills. Each partnership can be reimbursed up to $1,000 for approved expenses for each participant that the partnership can demonstrate attained their high school equivalency or achieved a 2-level gain as demonstrated through pre and post testing using the ELL assessment TABE Class E. Approved partnership expenses not already covered by WEI funding may be reimbursed up to $1,000 per participant for these specific costs: teacher salaries, curriculum or instructional materials, high school equivalency testing fees, and administrative costs up to 10%. Approved partnerships currently receiving Title II funding must use WEI funding first before using employer reimbursement funds. All reimbursements are subject to the approval of DWD, and costs submitted must be documented and submitted to DWD prior to reimbursement. As I said earlier, applications will be coming out shortly. These reimbursements will go directly to employers. And so think about some of your current employer partnerships or who you might be able to reach out to implement more employer partnerships. This one has been a long time coming, but we're really excited to announce that we will have a mid-year performance incentive for those individuals achieving certain performance outcomes. Grantees will receive a mid-year performance incentive for achieving 50% on Table 4, Column H, by the end of this calendar year, 12/31/19. Grantees will also receive a mid-year performance incentive for 15% of adult education enrollment attaining a high school equivalency on Table 4, Column E, by the end of the program or calendar year as well. If you have any questions, please type them into, do we have our chat, into the chat window, and we'll let the call go on, and then we'll catch up on questions towards the end.
Thank you very much, Marilyn. Let's move on to professional development. Our professional development team is here, Jose, Dan, and Nancy. We'll first start with Jose.
Thank you, Jerry. Hello, everyone. So last Friday at the Ivy Tech Lawrence campus, we had our first PDF meeting of the year. It was a good meeting. We had 2 panel discussion groups discussing best practices around the state. Some of the topics that from the event were distance learning, our Table 4C, how to get your staff on board with your plan. Also, we had a new quarterly report was shared, and Heidi Kelly from RVR explained how the program should fill that out. Thank you, Heidi, on that one. As you can see on the slide, our next meeting dates are December 6th at the Shepherd Community Center in Indianapolis and February 21st back at the Ivy Tech campus in Lawrence. So at the end of July, the PD team sent out a director survey. It was via Google, not SurveyMonkey. That's my mistake there. And thank you to all the directors for your quick responses. We at the PD team will be reviewing these responses, and we'll be sending out the director meeting dates very shortly. Now I'm going to hand it over to Dan for a little more details.
Well, thank you, Jose. I can talk about Table 4, which shouldn't surprise any of you. During the PDF meeting, we did share, as we've seen during this presentation, that Indiana exceeded 64%. And when the programs had put together their local plans, they put 64% in there. So what we're saying for next year, we're going to set the goal at a minimum of 65% because we're looking for continuous improvement. However, those programs that exceeded 65% this year, for example, we had a number of programs other than IDOC who reached well over 70%. You would need to go to your local plan and set your goal for 2019-20 at a minimum of what your performance was this year. For example, if you reached 72%, next year's plan, you would put a minimum of 72% because we're looking at continuous performance. We did find out that a number of programs have set some extremely ambitious numbers that actually I thought was okay. If you can, it's a goal. You know, ambitious is good. So actually, I think there might have been a program that chose more than 80%, and kudos to you. And so it was a good meeting, and we do appreciate it. As you see on the slide here, we are having directors meetings, and we are looking at on the December meeting and the February meeting with the PDFs, having those combined meetings where the directors can travel. We got some feedback that we had people who could not do both meetings, so we tried to do them separately, and it was fine, but then there were some who felt like it might be easier and more cost efficient to bring them together. So we're looking at doing that, and we're looking possibly at this point, 3 director meetings. So we'll have an additional one. We're looking at late October, but as we finalize with our sites, we will send something out to you very quickly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, professional development team. Let's move on to money, and Donna loves to talk about money, so Donna is here this morning. Donna, talk about money.
It shouldn't be my favorite subject since I have so little of it, but anyway. Good morning to everyone. So some fiscal information. Closeouts are due tomorrow, August 15th. If for some reason you are late getting your closeout packet sent to you, you may have been given an extension by our finance department. If there is a problem that you cannot make it in time, let us know by tomorrow, and we will contact our finance office and let them know, and they'll work out something with you. But we want to get things in as quickly as possible so we have our final numbers for reports that are due very soon. If you are having any problems with your reimbursements, getting the last reimbursement in on August 30th, let Cheryl Jones know before that date so that we can work with you. Again, this is for our reports that are due, and we want to make sure that we get credit for everything that is being done this year. And your grants team, Scott Mills.
Where?
Scott Mills, yes. And Donna Lovelady, we will be here if you have questions. I know I've gotten some emails that I need to catch up on. The contract process has started. If you are the grant
contact for your program, what's your email for that contact to come to you for signature soon? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Donna. Laura earlier this morning went over 4 of her projects, her WEI projects, IETs, and Roy is here to talk about some other workforce projects. Roy?
Thank you, Jerry. Good morning, everyone, and thank you to everyone who has submitted WEIs for this fiscal year. Just as a reminder, remember to make sure that the interest code and the interest course title that you put into Enters match what you submit to your AEC on the Enters spreadsheet. If what you have in Enters does not match what you submit, it will slow the approval process down. Also, moving forward, we will be expecting more from your WEIs. For instance, if your relationship with your employer only consists of them granting an interview to your students, that will probably not be approved as a WEI. Helping students get interviews is something we should all be doing for our students. We're going to be looking for company buy-in. An employer only guaranteeing an interview and a provider hosting classes does not count as company buy-in. There needs to be an advantage to being a student in a WEI course versus a course open to the general public. A WEI course means there is a relationship between an adult education provider and an employer that results in measurable benefits for adult education students. We will be sending more information about this later this week, but if you have any immediate questions, send me an email. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roy. Bryn is next, and he's going to go over some information in relation to IETs. Bryn?
Thanks, Jerry. Good morning, everyone. As you can see up on the screen, we're going to go ahead and talk about IETs. We have 11 IELC certifications and 219 IET certifications with 4 pending. IET enrollment, 3,053, 58% of the goal. IELCE enrollment, 83, which is 16%. Still enrolled, 633. Dropped, 389, which is 16.07%. Completions, 2,031. And certifications, 1,541. Next. The IET application process. Once again, we talked about this on the last state call. And since then, until now, we've still had some issues with approval numbers and contacting me directly. If you do not have the approval numbers, please let your AEC know. They will let me know, and then we'll work on that to get you an approval code. If, for some reason, your IET has not been marked yet, please let your AEC know, and we'll make sure we get all the rollovers. And all of your information regarding IETs must go through your AECs before it comes to me. Next is WEI. Currently, we have 174 WEI certifications, 2 pending applications, and then WEI enrollments is 1,167, 19% of the goal. As always, keep up the great work. We appreciate the hard work that you guys do, and have a great day. Back to you, Jerry.
Thank you very much, Bryn. We now have Matt here. I'm sure he's got a lot of information about Enters. He's been busy cleaning up data and working with programs to make sure that we can submit the final report in October for our final numbers for program year 2018-2019. Matt, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, first thing, this is going to be weird. BOMGAR changed on us, and we don't know what it did, when it did it, but it is now called Beyond Trust. So when you go to support.shrp.com, it will say Beyond Trust Software instead of BOMGAR. I don't know if they had a licensing name change, whatever, but we had a download Tuesday, and it changed. Okay, Table 4 for 1819. I know we went over some of these things. I sent an email out and said that your data had to be cleaned by August 10th. And I said specifically all of your age errors. As of this morning, there are still 15 students that have no parent signature, which means they are 16 or 17-year-olds that you have not either gotten the documentation or taken the time to go to the student record and click the radio button. There are 20 students that have an invalid age because 16 of those have no application date. All of these students have 12 hours. You are losing out on enrollments and possible gains because of these errors. You have until the end of this week to get those fixed for 18-19. Run your audit. If it says age anywhere and you can't figure out how to fix it, remote in to Beyond Trust, and we will be trustworthy enough to help you get that error cleaned up. Other than that, excellent job on all of the stuff. We'll try to get trainings out when we can. We're doing some other things for the end of the year closeout, so we're extremely busy. Thanks.
Thanks, Matt. Lance is here this morning, pitch hitting for youth initiatives, and there are some updates that Lance would like to share on behalf of youth initiatives. Lance?
Thank you, Jerry. Our Young Adult Services report was recently released covering program year 18-19. Overall, 2,229 new youths were served this year through WIOA programming, with just over half being out-of-school youth. Continuing on, 570 youths were high school dropouts, and nearly half showed basic skills deficiency. Numbers were down slightly from the previous year in the categories of new youth participants served as well as those who gained credentials. Two positive notes were that there were over 800 youths who exited the system to employment, and the number of youths with disabilities held steady from the previous year as well. If you'd like to see a deeper dive into the data, please contact one of the Youth Initiatives team members. Last, from the Youth Initiatives team, the Governor's Work Ethic Certificate Program Assessment was recently released, showing significant gains in the number of participants and recipients. Overall, nearly 5,000 students achieved this rigorous certification, and the program saw a 169% increase in participants from the previous year.
Thank you very much, Lance. Let's move on to, as we conclude this morning, to IAACE. Jennifer, are you on the line?
You'll be in just a second. They want to do it, make a call.
Okay.
Hello?
Hello, you're on, Jennifer. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys doing today? There,
We
I
are
was
doing.
waiting for, I was waiting for the slides to come back.
Hey there.
We are so excited to announce that the conference theme is Back to the Future, and we are having a contest to design the conference logo. The winning idea will receive a $25 gift card, and you can submit your ideas by September 12th by JPEG or PNG format to the email address on the screen. If you have any questions, just give me a call or an email. Next up, we are actively seeking members to join a committee. Advocacy committee is looking for individuals who would like to increase their networking capabilities and so much more. Communications committee is looking for those individuals who would like to assist with the blog and the newsletter and how we can communicate with our members better. The membership committee is looking for those individuals who want to increase the benefits of the membership and what we can do to do that. The conference committee is always looking for individuals that can help us with a number of things. But if you want to be a part of the conference committee and have a say, then I encourage you to join the conference committee. The employer engagement committee and the audit committee. All committees meet via Zoom. You do not have to meet in person, though there are some options for that in regards to the conference committee and possibly others. But we encourage you to reach out and find a committee that is right for you. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and LinkedIn. Next up, Congratulations to Rob Moore. He uploaded a material for home health aid to the IET website and won $100 from Burlington English. That was the contest that was rolled out at the last conference, and we had extended it, and I told you guys about it last month. So congratulations, Rob Moore. Next up, COABE. There are a few of our members that do not have a COABE member ID. And I just wanted to let you know that COABE is doing some updates. I don't know whether they're changing their system or what, but they said they are working our list and they will have the update soon. So when you log into your membership, you will see a temporary number that you can utilize for webinars and anything that you need until your number is available. If you are not receiving COABE updates because of that, check out the newsletter. We always have the highlights there. And if you need any other information, just give me a text or an email. Next up.
That is it.
That's
hey,
it.
That is indeed. You've gone through all your slides, Jennifer. Just a quick question. Back to the Future is the theme. Have you secured Michael J. Fox as a special to make a special appearance at the IAACE conference in April? You know, Michael J. Fox has a high school equivalency.
I'm working on it.
You're working on it. Well, great. Thank you so much for the IAACE report. Want to go back to Matt very quickly. There were a couple questions. Matt, what are those questions?
Okay, the first one's from Ruth. 15% of all enrolled students are only ABE students. In other words, ELL would not count.
Matt, go ahead and read the second question and we'll answer that together.
Will the HSE incentive be based only on ABE students?
The HSE incentive will be based only on ABE students, on eligible ABE students.
I have a question. Is it two separate incentives or two ways to qualify?
And as a point of clarification, there are two separate incentives. So you could meet one or the other or both.
All the questions, Matt? We're good. Well, we've gone the full hour this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Our next statewide webinar will be September 11th, 2019 at 10 a.m. in Annapolis time. In the meantime, have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks.